Protoscar Lampo 2011. Trying out an electric car is a great experience the first time around, but one that can leave an aftertaste of dissatisfaction when it's been repeated often. An electric works too well. No speeds, almost no noise, no vibration, that's good, but for those who have known the joys of mechanics, it's not enough. If we take the example of the Renault Fluence, which exists in both diesel and electric, it is possible to compare their differences with those between a new BMW 1 Series, and an old 2002 T from 40 years ago. The new Series 1 is incredibly safer, quieter and smoother. It is she who should be taken for daily use. But for a walk on Sunday morning, the old 2002 T offers sensations, and a driving pleasure that his descendant is unable to provide. I am then a little varnished. I was invited to drive an electric car that offers sensations. Protoscar Lampo 3. This car is the Protoscar Lampo 3. 3 first, to signify that this is the third installment in the series of small Swiss manufacturer, and then because the car has 3 engines. One for the front axle, and one for each rear wheel. Miracle of the technique and the all-wheel drive, however, at the wheel you do not realize anything. It is as if there is only one. At least on the road, on a circuit, it must be different. These 3 engines are the main characteristics of the car for the onlooker, but for those who already know a little Protoscar, the essential point of the Lampo 3 is to be a completely original car. Protoscar Lampo 3. The first 2 Lampo, in fact, had been built on the basis of an Opel GT, but this Lampo 3 is based on a new platform, studied from the outset for electric mobility. Like the Chevrolet Volt, the battery is in a central tunnel. But when in the Volt, the battery forms a T to extend behind the seats, the whole pack is in the central tunnel in the Lampo 3. The hole is higher and wider than in the Chevrolet, but it feels very comfortable inside. The car is wide, the passenger compartment ditto, with just a very high and very wide central armrest. Front and back. Protoscar Lampo 3. The Protoscar Lampo 3 is a 2+2, a 4.70 meters long by 2 meters wide coupe, and it is impressive on the road. Nothing to do with a Tesla Roadster, or a Venturi Fetish, which are narrow 2-seater with a very small trunk. Admittedly, the rear seats are a little difficult to access, but at first glance, they are more spacious than on a Jaguar XK, and the trunk seems also large. The owner of the Protoscar will therefore be able to afford some great getaways. Because autonomy is nothing ridiculous. The battery, a lithium-ion supplied by Akasol Engineering, a German company, has a capacity of 42 kWh. For comparison, that of a Nissan Leaf is 24 kWh. These 2 cars are difficult to compare, and as we say, the consumption can vary a lot, but we can count on much more than 200 kilometers between 2 recharges. The Parisian will be able to go to Deauville. Protoscar Lampo 3. And when it comes to recharging, the Protoscar is particularly well designed, since it has a double quick plug connector. One to charge with a CHAdeMO plug, like the Nissan Leaf, and the other with a Minx plug. It is therefore possible to connect to almost the majority of fast charging stations in Europe, as well as of course to a conventional outlet. Even stronger, it is possible to charge simultaneously with the 2 chargers, CHAdeMO and Minx, to divide the charging time by 2. But there are still only a few rare car parks in Switzerland, or in Northern Europe, or can see car parks so equipped. Protoscar Lampo 3. With all this in mind, I was already very impressed with the Lampo 3 before I slipped behind the wheel, and my enthusiasm did not weaken after I got on board. The car that I had the joy of driving was not a production car, we will discover it in the video below, but the development prototype. That means a rough finish, and none of the gimmicks you find on every car now. No navigation system, no blowout, or even a radio. There is also no carpet on the floor, but I don't care. I'm looking at the buttons on the dashboard. That's exciting. Energy recovery from the accelerator, energy recovery from braking, traction control, torque vectoring. For all these controls, an on, off button and an adjustment wheel. There are other knobs to adjust engine power and forward, reverse recovery. switches for main cooling and battery cooling. Protoscar Lampo 3. The instrument panel is a small LCD screen. There are cars that race at Le Mans that have the same. The competition or professional atmosphere is obvious, and it really has nothing to do with an electric Renault, or even a Tesla. Protoscar plans to simplify these orders for the production car, however. It would undoubtedly be clever to draw inspiration from the example of Ferrari, which generalized the manette in all these cars. A dial under the steering wheel, with various presettings, comfort, sport, competition, snow, etc. Everything being electric, everything is adjustable with incredible precision. For energy recovery, however, when braking and lifting off the accelerator, it would be good to group them together in a separate control. Perhaps behind the wheel, as we now see shift levers. Protoscar Lampo 3. The operation could be analogous to controlling the retarder on a heavy vehicle. For maximum recovery, pull the lever at the same time as you brake with your foot. The movement is natural. My first laps with the Protoscar took place very easily. The electric propulsion once again shows me its incredible smoothness, and there is added the joy of having multiple settings to give a real feeling of control to the driver. A Nissan Leaf cannot. Leaving Monaco by the motorway, for example, there is a very long descent where the driver of a petrol car must either downshift or brake very regularly, or both. In a Nissan Leaf you have to accelerate, because despite the steep incline, the recovery of energy slows down the auto. While on a winding course, the regeneration is not strong enough. In short, the driver of the Leaf plague because there is too much or not enough, while in the Protoscar, it is adjustable. We put on what we want to wear. But it's time to get down to business. Protoscar Lampo 3. The power is adjustable, and I obviously started at minimum. We go for full power. There are 570 horsepower and 900 Newton meters of torque under my right foot. This is the most powerful car I have ever driven. However, the Protoscar is of in special effects. The car does not make more noise, since it does not. On this spring day, I heard some noise from the furniture. It is a prototype, but at no time did I hear the engine. Yet there are three. I did feel them though. Not like old diesel, but in my body. Is it the touch when you have your shoulders glued to the seat? What am I saying, my shoulders, my whole back glued to the seat? Protoscar announces 0 to 100 km/h in 4.5 seconds. I can easily believe them. I was surprised to see the speedometer read 100 km/h just 2 seconds after I accelerated moderately. What sucks, since I was in town, Monaco or the Alps Maritimes where I was, the speed is limited to 110 km/h. The Protoscar needs more.